Hey mamas, welcome to Breastfeeding Relief with Bethany. We share incredible stories, tips, and breastfeeding ideas to help on your journey. I'm your host, Bethany Laverne, a lactation consultant and speech therapist who helps mamas with breastfeeding. Not all breastfeeding stories are the same, and we dive into those topics. Hi, today we're going to welcome Jackie. She has 3 kids and is currently extending breastfeeding her daughter, who is 3. She is an occupational therapist who is certified in neonatology therapy and also an international board certified lactation consultant. She works in a level 4 NICU where she helps parents learn to bottle and breastfeed their infants. She also offers support after discharge through her private practice, Nurture Development and Lactation, You can find her on Instagram at the NICUOT. Welcome. How are you today?
Hi, good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Why don't you go ahead and tell everyone about how many children you have?
So I am a mother of 3. I have 2 boys and a little girl. My little girl is 3 and we're still breastfeeding. So of course, that has come with a lot of that kind of, you know, feedback for having a toddler that I'm breastfeeding. So that's been fun.
Okay.
We talk about a little bit, but yeah, so I've got 3. My firstborn was in the NICU.
Okay.
He was born at 35 weeks.
Okay.
We had a little bit of difficulty in the NICU learning how to feed and then being able to transition to breastfeeding after. My second was term and my third daughter was also term, but we struggled with her a little bit through our breastfeeding journey as well. But,
Okay. Yeah.
but we got it under control though.
Yeah. It sounds like we're going okay now. Yeah. Why don't you tell us about what is something you wish you would have known about breastfeeding before you started?
So, I didn't know really or a lot about breastfeeding with my firstborn. I knew that I wanted to breastfeed, but only because I really only had the experience of watching my sister breastfeed her first daughter. Prior to that, I want to say the only memory I have of breastfeeding is I was maybe like 8 or something at a park, and there was a woman who was breastfeeding her child. My mom didn't breastfeed my brother, who was I think 7 years younger than me. So no memory of that, but being able to see that my sister, who also had a NICU baby, she breastfed her baby, so being able to see her and kind of learn through her about that was where I made that decision I was going to do it. But one thing I really wish I would have known at that time, especially having come out of the NICU, is just what breastfeeding really should look like. And how often your baby should be breastfeeding and what to really look for to be sure that your baby's actually like gaining weight. I'm so sorry, my daughter is here. But I think especially having a baby who came out of the NICU and they have a lot of expectations as far as how much your baby should be eating from the bottle, and they give you like this minimum amount that they should be taking every feed at least 8 times a day. So to go through from that to going home and trying to breastfeed, there was just a lot of uncertainty of whether or not my baby was actually transferring milk.
Sure.
And I think for me, what helped me to kind of ease my anxiety was, one, I think my son was actually just throwing up a lot afterwards.
Oh, sure.
So I was really like, I don't know what's going on. But talking to my sister, she was the one that told me, like, just look at his wet and dirty diapers. Just stop giving him the bottle after, which I don't condone for everyone to do. Like, of course, everyone has their own journey and should definitely discuss with someone. But for us, I think I was definitely overfeeding him. And that was, I talked to the pediatrician and we were okay with like, let's just trial stopping the formula and stopping those supplemental bottles and let's just see what he does. And we did that. And a lot of the problems, not all of them resolved, but he continued to gain weight the way he should have. So I think that's really one thing that I wish I would have known, just breastfeeding on demand, not watching the clock, but watching him and knowing to, look at his diapers as an indication of how much he was feeding.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Great advice right there. What is something that maybe helped facilitate breastfeeding easily for you?
I would say for me, I don't think it was very easy.
Okay.
Being that we had a rough start
Okay.
with the NICU. And he was in the NICU for a couple of weeks, so not terribly rough, but hard enough, I think, with breastfeeding. But I think what helped was the support of having someone there when we were in the hospital.
Mm.
I think without that, I think that's kind of like the silver lining. Without that, I think we would have really struggled, because even after coming home, we still struggled a lot. And there wasn't a lot of support.
Mhm.
But I did go, I think we had like a local baby cafe. And I did go to that with my son, and that was helpful. So I think just being able to talk to other people who knew how to help me was one of the best things. I think that helped us to get back on track, and to be able to just really transition from bottles to fully breastfeeding, because we ended up doing that. He only took bottles when I was at work. Other than that, we were primarily breastfeeding.
Okay. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And I liked how you said get in community. I advocate for that so much. I feel like it helps moms, especially new moms, not question what you're doing. And you can say, this is going wrong. And someone raised their hand and goes, oh, yep, that happened to me. Or that's called the sleep regression. It doesn't have to be just about breastfeeding, right?
Right.
And so really get in community, or even get on a Facebook group. I know my baby was born during the pandemic, and so I actually did a Zoom. And so, you don't have more of that one-on-one talk, making like super close connections, but it's still nice that everyone gets a turn to share.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, which is great. Why don't you go ahead and tell us, what was your favorite breastfeeding product you used?
So I've got 3 babies. So my oldest is 8. So for me, the biggest or the best product, I think, was finally when the hands-free pumps came out, which is probably a lot of people's favorites. But with my first 2, I mean, having to pump for work and pumping while in the NICU, and then of course bringing home my second baby and having to sit there and pump and being connected to a wall was crazy. So I felt super liberated when I had the LVs. That was what I used. The Willows. The Willows were available, but I wasn't able to get them as an upgrade through my insurance. The LVs I was.
Awesome.
But I think those were hands down, like, it's just so liberating. So I always tell moms, like, if you have a pump that you still can use, that's like a hospital grade, or, and you're able to get a second one, like, I recommend a hands-free option, because just it helps balance sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know my insurance did not. So after you bought one pump, you could never buy a pump again. But I had a friend, I believe it's actually my sister-in-law. Every time she's had a baby, she gets a new pump. And so I'm like, might as well upgrade them. So then she has one that sits at work. She's had one that sits at home. One sits in the car, so you don't have to move your pumps around, which is really nice.
That's actually what I had. I have 3. So I ended up I used the Hygia the first time. I ended up getting the Hygia the second time around, because it was a hospital grade. It was, and I don't think Spectra was available the second time, or not through who I was applying for or going through. But yeah, I got one every time. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. And also I feel like when you start making, mom friends in your area, once someone stops their nursing journey, just say like, hey, what are you going to do with that pump? Could I borrow that pump? Could I buy it off of you? And then you would have 2 also.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I definitely lent mine to other moms, because it does have that filter. But it's been helpful.
Awesome. Why don't you let mamas know how they can connect with you?
So I am actually, I do provide services and education on like breastfeeding or feeding in general, on Instagram through the NICU OT. And then I do have a website that I'm slowly building my blog for. But I also do have services, and that's through nurturemomandme.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And I am going to let everyone know she's also going to be on my summit coming up in June. So if you would like more information about Jacklynn, and also she's going to be giving a freebie away. So come and listen to her talk more with me about more stuff in the NICU and OT. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much if you would share it with another mama or post on social media and tag me. I want to personally thank you for wanting to help other mamas. You got this. I'm rooting for your breastfeeding journey.